Welcome to From Separation to Settlement, a family law podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to From Separation to Settlement, a podcast about navigating the legal and emotional journey through family law. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and I am joined by Jeffrey Hale, litigation partner at Kroener Law Firm. Jeff has dedicated his career to guiding families through divorce, custody, and other complex legal challenges with compassion and clear, honest advice. Jeffrey, welcome. Great to have you back.
Great to be back, Kevin. Thank you.
So today we're going to talk about the importance of having a local attorney on your case. So what have you found that people often don't realize about how different local courts can be in Ohio?
Well, I think the big thing is that the attorney has to understand the court that they're in. Every courthouse, in every county in Ohio have different local rules. Now every attorney knows the Ohio Revised Code. They know all the family rules within those codes, and they might even know a lot of the case law that bounces around between the courts and the jurisdictions. The problem is every county courthouse has local rules. And if you don't know those local rules, you can get everything else right and miss a deadline that's imposed by a local rule, and it could blow your case up, or at least blow the hearing up. Maybe not the case, but it'll blow that hearing up. And number one, that should be embarrassing for the attorney because you're expected to know these things. You're the expert, right? And number two, you now have a client who looks at you like, well, I could have came in here and blown this up. You're supposed to make it work. So, so I think having a local attorney is crucial so that you know not only you're getting somebody that knows the law, but they know the little intricacies of that local law.
Do you have any examples, stories? I love stories about when maybe being able to understand the local laws and whatnot kind of helped a case that you were on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big one is the one that is probably the scariest thing for me is missing deadlines. So I mean, we have software systems that track deadlines, and that's great. But the problem is you have to know to put that deadline in there. So knowing local laws or local rules, one specifically is almost everyone has exhibit deadlines. And exhibits are what you're going to take to court at a hearing, and you're going to present your client's evidence. And you're not allowed to have trial by surprise, so you have to have these exhibits turned over, whatever the rule is, maybe a week before the trial date, and maybe 2 weeks before. So knowing that is very crucial. And so, knowing that local rule, it sometimes out-of-town counsel will come in. I had a situation where we had a trial set, we had the exhibit deadline and witness deadline set. I send my client's stuff in. Counsel misses that deadline, gets our exhibits, and basically asks the court for a continuance. Said, "Oh, they have too many exhibits. I just can't be prepared for this." That was a crazy reason for a continuance. I thought never should have happened. That's a whole different story. Anyway, they get the continuance, get a new deadline, have a new trial date, which creates a new deadline. Once again, we come up on that deadline. It's like 3 months later. I send our stuff over. I'd already sent it over. Nothing had changed. I sent it over again, and that should have been the warning that, hey, you should send something over. Missed the deadline again.
Wow.
We have the hearing, and the court threw out all of his exhibits, wouldn't allow any of his witnesses to testify. So to me, that it is crucial that you understand the court you're in and the rules they play by.
I can't believe they did it twice.
And had a 3 to 4 month window with which to catch up.
Yeah, you would assume that if you get that continuance, you ain't missing that second deadline, right? Like you feel like that's going in your calendar with big bold letters and
Oh yeah. I mean, even if you send it early, don't.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's wild. That is definitely a bad one. how do judges' preferences or maybe courtroom culture factor into a case?
Well, I mean, our office will take on, they're basically referred to as conflict cases. So let's say if we have a criminal client or something, or we will, or there's a conflict that a certain office, like if you have a contempt action, technically with a contempt action in family court, there is jail time possible. It's very rare, but it's possible. So they're allowed to have an attorney appointed to them. So you don't take those cases because you think you're going to make any money on them. You specifically take them because you want to keep your face in front of the judge, in front of that courtroom, so that you know the judge, you learn what they like. You eventually learn to watch a judge when you have a witness testifying or you're cross-examining a witness. You watch the judge's face because they all have tells. They without saying a word, you can see on their face that you've said enough. They want you to go on to a different subject, or you just need to stop questioning. You've done your part. So part of that is, we take these cases because you want to keep your face, you want to stay in front of the judge, and you want to keep on top of, if it's a new magistrate or a new judge, you want to get to know them, learn their tales. If it's a judge that's been there for a while, you always want to make sure you stay up to date on their for me, it's just their poker face, because you want to know these things so you can know when not to push them too far, because it could be detrimental to your case, and you learn that zone to stay in. And that's the point of local counsel and being in those courtrooms a lot, is because you learn to know what they're willing to put up with and how far they'll let you go, so you can go up to the line, just don't cross the line.
Do you feel like it matters even more so in divorce or custody cases than maybe even other aspects?
I would say probably, in my opinion, on the custody side of things,
Yeah.
because you start to know the judges you're going to be in front of, and like I'd said earlier, you learn to see their poker face, so and you know the things that they need to know, they need to hear in order to rule in your favor.
Mhm.
So it's nice to, okay, know that, well, this judge wants to know more about extracurricular activities. They want to know more about this child's ties to the community and why this child needs to stay in this community versus another community. Some judges want to know more about the school district and, well, how well is the school? Where's that school rank in in all of, the best schools in Ohio or Kentucky or Arizona? They want to know where these schools rank. And it's part of being local, part of being constantly in front of these judges is we keep notes. I mean, we keep notes on judges, what they need to see in order to rule in our favor. And then we create our roadmaps with clients based on who we're in front of and what we know they want to see.
Mhm. Yeah. Obviously, trust is really important between a client and attorney. I mean, if you can't trust each other, then it's going to be difficult to go down this path. Do you feel like working, that someone working with a local attorney, that it's easier to build trust between those two parties?
I don't know if it's necessarily easier. Trust is such a crucial thing. And I don't know that it's really tied to a local versus just any attorney, but knowing that an attorney is local, knowing that you can sit down, a client can sit down and they can ask me about a local judge. And I probably have a check sheet or a list. And as they're going through explaining their situation and the problems they're having, I can tell them. And I have multiple screens, and I'll flip it around and say, okay, these are my notes. These are the notes that I have on the person you're in front of. This is what they want to see. So let's just start filling this in. And in earlier episodes, I talked about making a roadmap with the client, and that's part of it, is because that roadmap lets them know that I know what I'm talking about, and that I have a checklist on the judge they're going in front of. So that immediately puts them at ease, and they're like, oh, well, he knows exactly what I need to do in front of this judge and what they need to hear and what I need to focus my case on. And so I think that immediately creates a level of trust. And then obviously you keep that trust just by following the roadmap. Everybody leaves here with a copy of the roadmap and look, this is the game plan. Now it's going to change from time to time as facts change or situations change, but we'll get you another copy. We'll show you where it changed and what our new direction is going to be. And that's where the trust comes in, is when something changes, they have to trust that you've got another plan in place and this new route is still going to hopefully get them where they need to be.
I like going local when I can. I mean, my insurance guy is local. I don't have an online insurance company and all that stuff. Do you feel like community plays into that trust as well? Like, hey, this guy knows where I'm from and understands the culture of where I'm from. I would lean on that a little bit. Do you find that clients lean on that at all?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we're in the greater Cincinnati area. It's major metropolitan, but it's still kind of small when you look at comparable to New York or Boston or someplace. So it's still small, and oddly enough, it's still one of those places where people ask you what high school you went to. They don't worry about college or anything else. They worry about high school you went to.
That is a good sign that it's a smaller community. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that plays into it because people want to know that if there's an issue, I can walk into your office. I mean, I know right where your office is. It doesn't take me any time to get there. And with my clients all have my cell phone number. So some attorneys don't like that. I don't mind it because if I don't have time or if I'm busy, I can just, click, hey, can I call you later? And then just give them a call back. I like that they have that because once again, you're focusing in on that trust aspect and they know they have a direct line to you. And if it gets to be too much, you can say, look, this is for emergencies only. And I've found that clients don't abuse it, and they'll call you when they think it's an emergency, and you just have to talk them. I mean, 5 minutes out of my day is not going to it's not going to take up my day and cause any kind of hassle. So, and that little bit of 5 minutes, that's going to give them, a much more greater comfort feeling.
That's a really good way to look at it, is to say, like, because I understand, like, not giving out your cell phone number if you're an attorney because you don't want constant messages, constant texts, constant calls. But that's a great perspective to say, okay, what's 5 to 10 minutes out of my day really going to cost me when it gives this person the kind of peace of mind that they're looking for in that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what gets lost in the fray of everything I've been doing this for over 20 years now. So it's easy for me, and it's easy for me to look at every case as, oh, this is just a divorce. Oh, this is just a custody. But what you have to do is you have to step back and look and say, hey, this is the worst moment or one of the worst moments of this person's life right now.
Yeah.
And if it takes me 5 minutes to calm you down and say, hey, let's meet in the office on Monday, talk through this, it's 5 minutes, and you may have just saved their weekend so they're not sitting there getting an ulcer worrying about it.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I think that's really good perspective. I think that's good that you have that. When someone is looking for a lawyer, what questions do you recommend that they ask to make sure that an attorney may truly understand their local court? Now, are there any red flags that you would say, hey, if you hear something like this, you might want to think about this?
Well, number one, I always say that any attorney that has all perfect reviews is a red flag that they're fishing those reviews. They're cleaning them up, or they're having bad reviews removed. My office does not remove any reviews, and frankly, we've got a couple that people were upset, but we respond to those reviews, and it's understandable. So a red flag for me is, first off, if you look for a attorney in an area that they have all 5-star reviews, it's impossible, because you're in the divorce and custody world. Not everyone's happy all the time. Someone's always upset. Another red flag is if they can't even tell you a single judge's name that works in that county, that's in that courthouse. I mean, it's just that's a very simple question. It's like, hey, this is my case. This is what's going on. Do you know who I'll be in front of? I mean, that's not even a case specific, because if you're in a local community, 9 times out of 10 you say, oh, you'll be in front of this judge, or you're probably going to roll to this magistrate because they handle these types of situations. They typically get rolled there. And so it's a very simple, easy, kind of a nonchalant way for a client or a prospective client to find out if you even know who's in that courthouse.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about the judges and rules and things like that, but I'd imagine that having some form of relationship or understanding of the other attorneys can be really helpful too, especially when things are maybe contentious in a divorce.
Absolutely. The first question I ask, number one, is, if it's a divorce, has a divorce been filed? Sometimes it hasn't. A lot of times it has been, and I'll just ask them, okay, well, who's the attorney on the other side? And they'll tell me who they are, and to me, it's very important to know, because I guess every community has attorneys that can work together. If you've done it long enough, and if you are truly ingrained in this community, you're going to know the attorneys. You're going to know and I'll just flat out tell people is, oh yeah, I can work with him. We shouldn't be a whole lot of trouble. We can probably work through most of this. And, once again, creating that roadmap, some of that may change, but I have a good relationship with most of the attorneys in the community, so I'm able to work with them. But I'll be honest with them and say, look, we can definitely help you, but this attorney is straight-laced. They're very hard to work with, and they're very aggressive, and it requires us to take a different approach with them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is another great thing that you would know that, that's a big advantage, I feel like.
Yeah, my office approach honestly changes depending on who is on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
If it's someone we know we can work with, then I may just call them up and say, hey, we just got hired on this. Let's talk about it. What's going on? But if it's someone that I know to be overly aggressive, I refer to them as over angry, then I'll reach out. Then I will formally send them a letter saying, we've been retained. Please do not talk to my client or send any letters. They need to all come through. So then you have to be much more formal. It has to all be in writing. So, your approach changes and that local thing is knowing who those people are.
Yeah, I can see that being very advantageous to the case, to be able to know whether you can work with someone or not, for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for today's episode of From Separation to Settlement. If you found our conversation helpful, be sure to subscribe to our channel, leave us a review, share the show with someone who could use the support. We got lots more great content coming your way. For more resources or to connect with Jeff Hale and the Kroener Law Firm, visit KroenerLaw.com. And remember, every journey starts with one step, and you don't have to take it alone. Jeffrey, so good to have you back. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kevin.